Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing very well today and you are with me, Maha Mukhtoom, watching World this morning. It is Friday and Jummah Mubarak to you all. It is also the last Friday of the month of Ramadan, so it's a very special day for a lot of people out there. I hope you guys are having a good day so far. Today we have a very interesting show for you. Unfortunately, I am by myself today and it will be a very interesting show. We are going to be doing what we normally do. In the first half, we will be having teachings from the Quran, and today we will be talking about surah fussliat, and it's about how religion and science and philosophy, what we've been talking about, all of this, how they all go hand in hand, and actually how at one point knowledge will get to a point where it will show that the Quran and Islam is the right religion, and it will start to prove, within it you will find the answers. Something like that. We have the teacher in the studio, so he will be explaining everything. And we were discussing my introduction. I was going to throw in Darwin and Frankel, but now I don't think I'm going to, because we have a lot to discuss, and I think I'm going to leave that to our in-house Quran teacher, and he's wonderful. And today is the last day for this week, which I'm quite sad about, because every morning it's very, very interesting. Every day I dread waking up and thinking, what am I going to feel bad about today? What do I need to fix today? But that's a really good way to look, because we're always trying to better ourselves so that we can better society. So for that, we have been joined by Yusuf Raza, who is our in-house Quran student of the Quran teacher. And I'm just making up things now. But welcome, good morning, Assalamu alaikum, Jummah Mubarak.
Wa alaikum assalam, thank you very much. To you too.
And so we've got a very interesting show today.
Yeah.
So we're going to be, this triangle, I just keep seeing it everywhere. I think it's really important.
Yeah,
so
it is.
today we're going to highlight the importance of knowledge and everything,
inshallah.
right?
Yeah.
So take it away.
Okay, so this ayah that I've selected is ayah number 53 of Surah Fussilat. It begins, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Sanurihim ayatina fil afaqi wa fi anfusihim hatta yatabayyana lahum annahu al-haq. We will soon show them our signs, our ayat, within the horizon, in the horizon, fil afaqi wa fi anfusihim, and within themselves. Within themselves. So if you want to talk about the area of knowledge that focuses on whatever is out there in the horizon and everything, so that would be aspects of physics and different aspects of science that cover that region. And then within themselves, if you want to talk about biology or psychology and those aspects of knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that we will soon show them our signs, which means that at the point of the revelation of the Quran, those signs, or revelation of these ayat, those signs have not been shown, right? So now they will be shown after the revelation. And حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ, until it becomes crystal clear to them, أنه الحق, that this is the truth, that all of that knowledge is in continuity with what the Quran talks about, with what the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, an unlettered prophet, and he didn't have any teachers from human beings, and he didn't know how to read or write. What he brought 14 centuries ago is consistent with all of that, right? So that's something very profound. That's a huge claim. But when we look at people, and the people who have specialized in these areas of knowledge, unfortunately we seem to see something opposite. That the more educated they are, the more they have specialized in these areas of science, the more vehemently they would be rejecting ideas of religion, ideas of God, ideas of prophethood or anything like that. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? Where do we go from there with respect to this ayah? Does that mean that this prophecy is not true, or what's going on, right? So that's something of what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
Again, when we look at the modern sciences as to how they perceive the world, we see, unfortunately, that a particular dimension or a particular interpretation of science is taken, projected, popularized, and the other aspects, there are aspects within each field which are neglected, which are downplayed or criticized for one reason or the other. Whatever we spoke about when we spoke about Surah Kahf, and we spoke about how the Renaissance, there was a reaction against religion and everything religious because of the misrepresentation of religion, and there was a one-eyed perspective of the world that was made predominant, that favored this world over the next world, and study of the universe over talking about God, and spirituality was neglected, and this physical pleasures and physical body was highlighted when we spoke about that. So we see consistently that across the sciences, what is given preference is that which supports materialism, that which supports, which goes against religion, basically, right? But an acute study, a deeper study into each of those sciences will let you know that there are honest, sincere specialists of the field, of very high caliber, who are opening the doors to religious possibilities from those same, from that same evidence, from that same science, but they're not highlighted. For example, everyone knows about Charles Darwin.
Yes.
Everyone knows about Charles Darwin and how Darwinian evolution, it was a huge revolutionary book that he wrote, Origin of the Species, and how that had an impact across the sciences. And then people were blowing the trumpet for Darwinian evolution as to say how we found an alternative explanation to the origin of the species. We don't have to resort to creationism. We don't have to resort to a creator, whatever religions talked about, yada, yada, yada. All of that was trumpeted. But then you also have a Peircean, Charles Sanders Peirce, an American philosopher, his perspective of evolution as well. Nobody's probably even heard of the name of Charles Peirce. Most people, right? Everyone's heard of Charles Darwin. Very few people have heard of Charles Peirce, and especially his conception of evolution, and as to how it opens more possibilities, how it explains reality better, more comprehensively than the Darwinian conception.
Okay, so then why do we do that as like individuals when we have, because Percy, did you say?
Peircean.
Peircean, yeah, I was getting it wrong. Peircean, that theory, why is it on the backbench, comparatively?
Right. Again, we can volunteer different theories as to why it happened, but maybe at a personal level, if we look at the Quranic perspective as to what the Quran talks about, why do these people take idols for which they don't have evidence for? When the Quranic message, the message that the Messenger ﷺ is bringing them is more consistent, it leads to a better society, a more just society, why would they still resort to the old ways? That they don't have any foundations and knowledge for? The Quran very bluntly says that this is because they want to follow their desires. This is because they want to transgress. This is because they don't want to accept responsibility. This is because of all of those reasons, and that's why if you want to look at it from another perspective, then humanity has suffered at the hands of religion as a fact. But also a fact is that we've suffered across the previous century without religion, because of divorcing religion from our lives, basically. Because the number of people that have died in the world wars, those weren't religious battles. Those were not fought for Christianity or Islam or anything like that, right? Those were completely from a different perspective, from a materialistic perspective of the world, and the damage that was done was unprecedented. No crusades or no level of conquests of the Muslims could even compare to what we've done to ourselves, basically. Humanity almost came to the point of a universal suicide. We almost nuked ourselves to, into oblivion.
Isn't that the end? Like, isn't that the end anyway of the book?
not self, we don't bring it upon ourselves.
Okay.
So we see that happening. So now we have evidence to the contrary.
Okay.
We have evidence to the contrary because we have, for example, taking that further, within psychology. Within psychology, everyone knows about Sigmund Freud. Everyone knows about Sigmund Freud.
Oh yeah, good old Freud.
Yeah.
He's really screwed a lot of people over.
Right, so he had in his time, the teachings that he gave or the concepts that he gave, some of them very profound, but a lot of them very absolutizing. And he was a very militant atheist with respect to his beliefs, and he was ensuring that his perspective of psychology that comes out follows that same line of thought. And religion is explained away as something which is even a disease, right? It's a disease process, it's a pathology even. right? So Freud is considered to be one of the founding fathers of psychology as it is, and then even those schools of thought that came after him, whether it's behaviorism, whether it's cognitivism, at least that side of Freud they all take with them.
Yes.
That explaining away of religion as one thing or the other, as not a part of reality basically.
Okay.
But then you also have Viktor Frankl as, and if not more qualified, a specialist of that caliber, someone who is a psychiatrist and a neurologist and has 28 honorary PhDs, 1 PhD in philosophy, all of those credentials to his name, founder of logotherapy. But you will find very qualified psychiatrists, very qualified psychologists, very learned, very effective. They haven't even heard the name of Frankl.
No.
They haven't even heard of Viktor Frankl.
Even I have.
There you go. Or at most what they've heard of, he's the guy who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, the bestseller.
Okay.
That's the extent of it. He wrote about his experiences in the concentration camp. But what is logotherapy? And how is logotherapy an alternative paradigm? And how it opens the doors towards religious possibilities, the doors which Freudian, behaviorism, all of these conceptions just closed off.
Okay, now, so keeping this within the Pakistan context or within the Muslim world context, within our religion, it says these things that, there will be, within your own knowledge and information, you will find that this is the truth. We just highlighted Freud and Frankl. So, Viktor Frankl, right? So, why do we, even within this society, surely we should be trying to find texts that give you a counter narrative and teaching that as well.
Exactly.
Isn't that our duty?
For sure it is. So when you have insincerity or misrepresentation or just a one-eyed perspective from, let's say, the people representing modern knowledge, where they're insisting on closing the other eye no matter what, that Dajjalic perspective that we spoke about. So we have that from our side as well,
Yes.
where we want to close our eyes off to anything that modern knowledge has to say, where we don't want to, like.
But if your book, which people say they study and they read, tells you do not do that, why are we doing? And then we have the hadiths as well. We're supposed to live our lives like the Prophet, peace be upon him. What are we doing?
Again, if you were to highlight from the previous century, we have Allama Iqbal, rahimahullah,
Yes.
found one of the founding fathers of Pakistan, poet, philosopher. We are so proud of him and we talk about him, but what do we really know about him? This is exactly the one to have seen this most clearly, perhaps in the whole world, if I want to be very, very, assertive about that. It was Allama Iqbal. And he saw this. This is what all of his reconstruction in religious thought in Islam is about. He's a person who himself has manifested this in his own philosophy, in what he projected in his poetry. Unfortunately, religious people quote him. Irreligious people quote him. Everyone doing to him, picking portions of him that suits their understanding, and again subjecting him to that same binary perspective in which you just highlight one aspect, the complete conception of reality that he's trying to put out, that side of the Quran that he is trying to highlight, it goes ignored. The most our children know about Allama Iqbal is the guy who wrote Lat Pe Aati Hai Dua or Makra and Makhi, those children's poetry that he did. But what he actually stood for, what was his message, how he, on the basis of his deep-rootedness in the Quran, was able to bring things which you would call polar opposites together into a fruitful conversation, where he would be bringing Nietzsche from one side, again an atheist, and then he would be bringing in Maulana Rum from the other side, one of the most popular mystics, one of the most influential mystics, and come out with something new, which is so much more profound, which is so much more amazing. But what have we done to Iqbal? What have we done to his legacy? We've completely misrepresented him. And of course, we misrepresented the Quran.
Yeah.
So how would we have left Iqbal alone?
Okay. So then in regards to this ayat, right? You get so scared saying these words because you're an expert. So then now what are the steps forward? What do we do?
Again, introspect, realize the problem for what it is.
Okay.
The real problem is we all want solutions straight up, but have we really comprehended the problem for what it is?
Okay.
Everyone wants to talk about, we've made a meal of things for centuries now.
Okay.
Me or anyone, any specialist, the best of specialists, forget me. If they claim that they can give a solution in 2 minutes, these are not, instant noodles that you open the packet and you throw in and they get ready. This is something that has been corrupted, that has been misrepresented for centuries now, An honest understanding of the Iqbal paradigm, or the methodology with which Allama Iqbal did things, how he approached the Quran, how he approached religion, how he approached the modern world, opening himself to it, not closing himself off to it. That would be the starting point.
Okay.
That would be the starting point. That's something that we would need to go out for. There is a philosophy professor at McGill University, Charles Taylor. He wrote a preface to a book. The preface starts with, "We must reread Iqbal."
Oh, wow. Okay,
we must reread Iqbal. And he criticizes how the people who claim to be the inheritors of his legacy have done injustice to him, how their country represents, how they haven't understood what that person was, how that person who is, because he is deeply rooted in Quran, he is open to all other sources of knowledge and able to bring them together in a fruitful conversation. Again, just the past 10 days that we've had these sessions, these morning sessions, it was just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
How we were bringing the Quran, aspects of modern knowledge, to things that could have been, that were fruitful, beneficial for people to experience, for people to learn, and then live their lives in accordance. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. Just the tip of the iceberg. We need to build on this further. We need to take this further. Imagine if this becomes taken at the highest level in every field of knowledge. In every field of knowledge, then it's not just science against religion. It's science reinforcing religion, religion reinforcing science. Who's benefiting? Yeah. Humanity at large stands to benefit if this is what our institutions of learning are about, if this is what our from school to college to university level, if that's what we're talking about, if that's the kind of knowledge that is being given to the society, that knowledge will not promote hate. That knowledge will promote love. That knowledge will have a basis for morality. That knowledge will be a knowledge that serves as a foundation for a just society, for an equitable society, and benefiting from all sources of knowledge, bringing them to the benefit of mankind.
Okay, that's fantastic, and I feel like I don't want to add anything to that, but I do have a question.
Sure.
Well, everything you said is absolutely beautiful and it's wonderful and it's, makes logical. It's logical. It makes sense, and we should do it. But we're not doing that. And also, in order to practice the religion, in order to have these kind of ideas, you need to be able to understand the text and understand what you're reading. That's where the hurdle comes, because it is also old text. There's about multiple words are not used anymore. The multiple words have 10 different meanings. So how do we get to that point? Because even within learning the Quran, there are just so many interpretations as well. So, like you said, everyone has an agenda, and there's some people who are not highlighting the beauty and actually the message of the Quran. How do we bring it onto? How do we pick the right people?
Again, if we're to talk about the right people, then Surah Yasin speaks about, for example, that a person came from the outskirts of the city to reinforce the message of the prophets, and he told his people that my people follow the people who do not ask you for anything, i.e. you see that they don't have any vested interest within that which they are propagating. They're doing it for the cause itself. Even they have to sacrifice for it, they're sacrificing for it. Free mentors are being put on offer, and they're putting themselves on offer, basically. Number two, they're following what they're preaching, what they're talking about. Their lives represent that particular aspect. And then when you grow, even if you start learning from the most insincere, or the guy who's misrepresenting the message himself, as you progress, if you yourself are sincere, as you progress in your learning with him, you will see the inconsistencies manifest themselves. You will see the inconsistencies, but we are dependent on specialists. We have to start from somewhere so that we grow with our basics, but the problem realize the problem first. Diagnosis before treatment.
Okay, wonderful. And on that note, thank you so much for your time. It was an absolutely wonderful way to wrap up the teachings of the Quran for the week. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And when you come back after the break, we will be discussing more about Ramadan and compassion and the social responsibility. But it's very interesting, and we've got a wonderful guest, so do stay tuned.
Situated in the heart of the South Asian subcontinent, Pakistan was the site for one of the world's most earliest human settlements. The Indus Valley civilization was filled with different cultures, religions, and political empires. This fascinating heritage is one of the many reasons tourists visit Pakistan, but it is certainly not the only one. Exciting adventure attractions, varied and plentiful animal life, historical ruins and monuments. All 4 seasons nature has to offer, and beautiful scenery are just a few of the many reasons to visit Pakistan. The hospitable people of Pakistan welcome all visitors with open arms and warm hearts.
Planted seeds, however minuscule in size, hold the promise of bearing fruit when they rise. And like a tidal wave, they shall conquer all, for they are the youth, proud and tall. Pakistan's prized youth holds the key for heralding in a new era, leading aggressively in all walks of life. As we speak, our new blood is progressing in leaps and bounds in the fields of information technology, academic excellence, social media and activism, performing arts and literature. A nation's future is certain to be bright on the helm of young shoulders, their determination and their might.
Welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we were having our daily segment of teachings of the Quran. And today we discussed Surah Fussliat. And it was about the importance of how the knowledge and everything we're learning today will start to show the truth within the Quran and the text and everything. So it was very fascinating. So if you did miss it, it will be uploaded on our Facebook fan page. So you can always go there and check it out. But now staying in tune with Friday, and the whole point of Ramadan is to understand other people's pain, is to feel empathy, it's to kind of put yourself in someone else's shoes and to be grateful and realize that life is not just a bed of roses, that actually underneath there are a few thorns, and that, you know, some people have to go through more than others, and we should be able to feel for them, and we need to have compassion for them. So today we're going to be discussing the importance of compassion with within Ramadan, and also how can we continue it after that, because there are another 11 months out of the year. And so to discuss the importance of compassion within Ramadan, we have been joined by Dr. Amine Hoti. She is the director of Markaz-e-Ilm, which is translated to Center for Knowledge. Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, and I'm so happy we've got you today on a Friday as well. But I want to start the conversation because we have so much to talk about and we always run out of time. So let's start with the definition for compassion and then within the context of Ramadan and Islam.
Okay, super. Well, it's great to be here, Maha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. It's a beautiful Friday. Now, all these are very significant. It's the last Friday of Ramadan, and of course, compassion is key to Islam. It's key to the idea of being a Muslim and a good human being. So what is the definition of compassion? Compassion is basically a response to the suffering of others that motivates a desire to help them. Okay. And therefore the Arabic word is Rahma, or God is, for example, Rahman. And this, every Muslim before every act, whether it is prayers, whether it is a daily act, he or she says Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yeah. So it is very significant, the whole concept of compassion and of understanding how others feel and suffer.
Okay, and also with Ramadan, that's the whole point of this month as well, correct? To kind of, reflect, see what difficulties other people are facing. So what are the challenges? Because, it's easy to sit here and talk about how we should be compassionate, we should do this, we should do that, but what is, how do we, what is the importance of it all and the challenges?
So
I've mixed two questions together, so let's do that.
So two questions. So let's first talk about the importance.
Yes.
If we go back and if we step back in history, Maha, and we look at 7th century Arabia, remember, this was a time when when little girls were being buried alive for simply being a girl.
Yes.
When people were enslaved because they were people of different hierarchies or classes. So there was a lot of injustice. And God was compassionate to human beings by revealing the Quran in this month. That is why this month is so significant. And that is why in the last 10 days you have the Laylatul Qadr, which is the night of power, because the Quran itself is a miracle. It's a wonderful book. It's a beautiful message to humanity, not just to Muslims, but to all of humankind. And if you look at the Quranic message, God is a universal God. He is Rahmat, He is Rabb al-Alameen. His prophet is Rahmat al-Alameen, which means He is the God of all human beings, of all creatures, small and big, whether it is an ant, or it is an animal, or it is a human being of any faith or color or culture. And therefore, this message is very clear to human beings. It also means that we must be compassionate towards each other, because there's another famous hadith that says that if God is merciful to you, then you must also be merciful to each other and compassionate to each other. And it is reverse. Okay. So if you're compassionate to each other, then God in heaven obviously will be compassionate to you. Okay. So if we want to seek compassion, then we must be compassionate.
Wonderful, that's beautiful. And so now the second part of that was the challenges.
So the challenges, it's been a difficult month. June has been a very tough month, not just for Muslims, but for the world.
Yes.
And if you look at one media report which I was listening to recently, there were 140 incidents which were violent extremist incidents, or however you like to term it, and there were 700 deaths as a result. Now recently there was also an incident in Istanbul.
Yes, I know.
And I'm also coming from a conference. This is a peace building conference in Istanbul.
Oh gosh.
A beautiful city. Istanbul is literally, it's the meeting point of the East and West.
Exactly.
And you've got this beautiful culture there. And sadly you have, this new incident which has killed so many people and hurt and injured so many people. So there's no compassion in this act. But we need to encourage compassion. But of course, at the same time, Islam is being misunderstood. Muslims are being misunderstood worldwide, and especially in the West, unfortunately. And this is a good period for Muslims to reinforce this concept of compassion towards each other, but also towards people of other faiths, other cultures. So it's expanding the concept and including people, just like God is, Rabb al-Alameen.
Okay, but I mean, like we were mentioning, there are a lot of challenges with that because, like you said, Muslims and Islam are being misrepresented, especially, there seems to be very little counter-narrative to go against what's already, so popular within the media. So how do we actually start to overcome these hurdles?
Well, there are many ways.
Because we try
Yes,
to be nice,
yes.
so it's not always doesn't work.
Yes. A lot of people are very nice, very good, decent people. They do a lot of good work, and even in the month of fasting, they've reached out, they've fed the poor, they've done a lot of charity, which is fantastic. But really,
there's a but in there.
No, we have to get this work done on a global level.
Right.
So a global level is not just within your own muhalla, not just within your own family, which is a good thing. You must reach out and you must begin charity at home. But home is not just your own little home, where the boundaries are limited. Home is the world, the earth is your home. So if you see it with a different vision, with a different perspective, then you'll reach out far more than just a limited sense of charity and compassion.
Okay, wonderful. And also because you are the director of Markaz-e-Ilm, Center for Knowledge, you go around and you give lectures, you're part of talks and conferences, but what exactly are you also doing in regards to promote this message and on a practical and on a kind of information level?
That's a great question, Maha. I've, over the last 2 years, been doing very, very hard work with a team of people. We were based in Lahore at FC College.
Okay, great.
But we also taught at several universities, at NUST, I've lectured at Air University, at many other places, and we're working with schools, we'll be working with doctors to introduce these ideas of compassion, which are very local concepts. These are concepts from the Quran, from the Sunnah, from Pakistan. Pakistan's constitution again and again, talks about equality and justice and rights for all.
Yeah.
And more practically, we've introduced courses on ilm, adab, insaniyat, which is an important concept.
Ilm is knowledge,
adab is respect,
and
mutual
insaniyat
respect.
is humanity.
And insaniyat is humanity. And again, we have this little book, which is Teaching Acceptance.
Wonderful.
And it's available from ML Publications.
Okay.
But again, it's a really good tool. These are good tools to teach from.
Okay, exactly. We have to get that at the base level. When the
Yes,
kids are starting school. So now, in regards to
And
the
there's
response,
these three booklets.
and they're so easy.
These are very accessible. So
Very
they could be taught at school level. They could be taught at university level. They could be taught to medical doctors.
Yeah, and it's really nicely spaced out, and it's really clear, so you don't have to get confused. That's one. So how have people reacted to these? Like when you went to the universities in Lahore, the work you're doing within Islamabad, how are people reacting? Is it positive on the educational front? Are they receptive?
Yes, very positively, Maha, because young Pakistanis are intelligent, they're curious, they want role models, they want new ideas, so within this course we revive the role models who are peace builders.
Right.
We talk about peace examples, we talk about culture, we talk about religion, we talk about the Charter of Medina, we talk about all those aspects that encourage and promote this very idea of compassion. And again, it's very rooted in our own understanding of the self, but also encourages a respect for everyone.
And that's my next point. I was going to ask you, but for compassion, when one truly has compassion, then that means they're quite a tolerant person. But we've seen that within the world, like you mentioned, Istanbul, and in June alone, so many incidents of violence have took place. We don't seem to be a very tolerant world these days. So how do we start? I mean, I know with people like you going out there, but how do we start making changes on the ground level? Because someone else was talking about this, is that people from maybe from other provinces, there is a detachment even within our country, and you know, we had this such a beautiful idea of Pakistan, but we're not quite there. How do we use all of this to kind of get there? So that's a different question, kind of.
So I will correct you a little bit.
Okay, please
we
do.
didn't have a good idea of Pakistan. I mean,
we didn't have,
it's not
sorry.
had, but we have an
Sorry.
excellent idea of Pakistan.
I mean, the initial
because
concept.
look, it's a very diverse country. You have a fantastic, you know, variety of cultures.
do.
You have all these wonderful people potentially, you know, there with a huge population who can contribute to the world positively. Now, if we step back, we've done these courses, we've done these textbooks which are positive. We also are trying to build a center for knowledge.
Okay.
And within that center, we're exploring new ideas, not just within South Asian culture and Pakistani culture, but also a little more globally.
Okay.
So, for example, in one of these projects, which is called Journey into Europe,
Yep.
and this is published by the Institute of Strategic Studies.
Yes, okay.
Professor Akbar Ahmed led this, who is doing a lot of bridge building work. And so he was the team leader.
And that's a documentary as well,
That's
right?
a documentary and a book.
And a book. Can I see that?
And
I've seen the documentary.
Yes. And this is a fantastic example, Maha, where there were civilizations which we explored.
Right.
For example, we had Andalusia, Al-Andalus, which was in Spain.
Yes.
And from 711 to 1492, Muslims ruled with Christians, Jews, people of other faiths in peace, in relative peace. It was a fantastic period where knowledge thrived, where the idea of working together as a human civilization was there. So the idea of coexistence was very much and very strongly in this civilization.
Yes.
And that is an example to us today, whether we're in Pakistan or anywhere in the world. This idea of la convivencia, which is to live together in peace. And that's something that we really want to promote through this idea of compassion.
Okay, and now at this center, when you, you know, because you want to promote and you want to discover ideas and explore ideas, who is actually involved in all these exploration? Who's, you know, do you get people from abroad? Is it just, you know, minds from Pakistan? So how does it work?
Well, it's anyone and everyone who wants to help, basically.
Okay.
It's like building a little home or a, you know, little house physically or a building.
Right.
Everybody must take that brick and place it to make this whole building.
Okay.
And this is a metaphor,
Okay.
of course, for the idea of building this constructive society where we can live together in sort of relative harmony.
Okay.
Because really we've seen examples. We've seen last month 700 people killed. That's the alternative. Do we really want that? Or do we want a world where we work hard towards, where we strive, as the Quran repeatedly says, because it's not just important to believe, we have to work righteousness. And again the Quran stresses this. If work righteousness involves effort, you know, struggle again, you know, and righteousness again comes down to compassion, to respecting others, to feeling other people's pain. If we can feel the pain of those people who died, who suffered, then of course we're motivated to go back and help them, to struggle, to build that home. And that's what the Center for Knowledge is about. It's through education, allowing people to come together. So anybody from whichever culture who has this positive idea.
Right, excellent, wonderful.
Yes.
So maybe I can come and like
Yes,
try and
yes,
get
please,
involved.
yes.
Okay, now when you go abroad and you discuss Pakistan, because obviously from your experiences abroad, that's why you're saying that the image and the representation is not the best, and there's quite a negative association with Islam and Muslims. How do people react to you when you go there and you show them that this is the work that's going on in Pakistan, this is what we're doing? Is there a positive outcome, or are they in shock? What do they say? And do people want to see Pakistan get on, you know, stand firmly on its 2 feet?
Well, there is a big challenge with the image, and as I said, to work like this, people are very positive, both in Pakistan, especially students.
Right.
Students have said repeatedly, you know, we'd like courses like this to be taught at our universities, at our schools. I was at Air University the other day giving a talk on this subject, and some students got up and said, when are you going to teach this here?
Oh, wow.
Doctors said, when are you going to teach it here? So we are struggling in the process of making it happen.
Okay.
You know, and abroad, of course, there are many people who are well-wishers, There are people who also don't understand Pakistan fully or have never encountered Pakistanis in a positive way. So what we need to do is go back and struggle hard, Maha, and get to, show them that Pakistan is not about those negative images. There is a very positive aspect to Pakistan. We have a very rich culture. We have this tradition of adab. We have this idea of seeking knowledge. And if we can revive this and reinforce this, then it's wonderful, because all people respect that.
Absolutely.
People respect this at a high moral level.
Wonderful, wonderful. And any final words you'd like to share? Because it is the last Friday. It is, Ramadan is almost over, and
Yes.
it's something that you're talking about compassion and you're talking about tolerance, and we're discussing how to project a positive image of Musliman, like Muslims. How do we continue this? Once next week fasting will be over, life will go back to normal. Shops will be open on time. How do we keep this in mind this whole month that we've been hearing every day? How do we practice that?
Well, the key is to embody the idea of compassion and to use Ramadan not just an exclusive month, but to practice your entire life in this context, this very idea of being Muslim, struggling towards doing good and doing compassion. And therefore, this very idea of Rahman and Rahim, again and again, that God emphasizes, becomes central to one's doing anything in life, whether before your prayer or before, 5 times prayer a day. So it's every day enforcing this and practicing it. And finally, of course, after the Islamic notion of compassion, I want to emphasize this little quote, which is a beautiful quote. And it says, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here today. It was absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
best of luck with, all of these endeavors. And this is really good. I really enjoyed this. It was really an eye-opener for me. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. Today we had the teachings of the Quran, the importance of knowledge, the importance of reading, the importance of not being narrow-minded and looking at the world with one eye. You have to keep both your eyes open. And the second half, we're discussing the importance of compassion within Islam, within Ramadan, and how we need to embody it and practice it on a daily basis in order to be happy and spread happiness around us. With that, have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you bright and early on Monday. And do log onto our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of World This Morning. Twitter page, World This Morning without a G, our Daily Motion page, our YouTube page, World This Morning, and the repeat is at 5 past midnight. And we will be back on Monday, bright and early at 5 past 9. Have a wonderful time. See you very soon. Bye-bye.